All right, we got UFC 322, Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. Now, let's talk about who you had winning going into the fight versus how the fight actually went down. So let's start with what you thought going in. Just give me like a 30-second quick rundown of what you had in mind.
I had JDM winning. I mean, it was pretty, for me, I think it was a safe bet. He's naturally the bigger guy. He's the one who has the experience in that weight class. And just based on what he did to Bilal, I mean, that was a good indicator that he might have won. Bilal's another grapple heavy guy. He trains with Islam Habib and all of them, and he was able to stuff all the takedowns, get his game off. So based on that, I thought he was going to win. I did not think Islam honestly had a chance.
Well, so for me, it's like the way I saw it going was that when JDM had fought against Bilal, I was really high on JDM. I'm like, oh, JDM has it in the bag.
Yeah.
But as the fight drew nearer, drew a little bit closer, I started to change my mind on it. I'm just like, I really can't see JDM beating Islam. I don't feel like it's smart to bet against Islam. I don't bet. I'm not a betting man, but I just felt like I'm thinking Islam's probably going to win this
Yeah.
just because of how dominant he is on the ground. Now, the reason why I say that, even though JDM was able to dominate Bilal, is because of two things. Number one, Bilal was trying to prove a point that night for whatever reason. Bilal wanted to box with him because he thinks he's Canelo. But thing is that when he did start to wrestle, it was a little bit too late in round one. And then whenever he would actually get the takedown, because he was able to get some takedowns, but his ground game is nothing compared to Islam's. Islam is a decent wrestler. I thought his wrestling wasn't all that, but his grappling is just on a different level. And that's the difference between Islam and Bilal. Bilal can wrestle, but he's not the best grappler, whereas Islam has great grappling. But from what we just saw, Islam leveled up his wrestling too, because I don't even know if JDM really stopped any takedowns in this fight.
None.
So I saw Islam winning the fight, but I didn't think he was going to go in and do what he did. He dominated. What were your thoughts, as round one started to play out?
I mean, my first thought was JDM is losing the title, man. I mean, the look of
For
defeat in
round
his
one?
face. By the end of round one, I honestly felt like I didn't see JDM preventing what Islam was doing. I mean, the look of defeat that he had at the end of round one, like it was kind of sad, to be honest. I felt bad for JDM. Like, I genuinely felt bad for him. Like, the look of defeat, he was like he had like this look of like pain in his face. It wasn't that anything happened in the fight that would have caused pain, at least from outside looking in. I just think that that was just accumulation of just mental defeat, mental fatigue. Like, he just had no answers for anything Islam had. And it was a very, like, for me at least, I thought it was a very shocking performance. Like, I knew that Islam had it in him. I just didn't see him doing it against JDM and then doing it that easily.
Yeah.
Round one, I figured it was over. I just felt like it was gonna continue.
And the crazy part is that as the fight started to unfold, we even saw Islam was basically dominating everywhere. He was
He
winning
was.
on the feet and on the ground. Like every time JDM matched his stance, southpaw,
Yeah.
killed the calf kicks.
There
As
was
soon as he
one moment there was
take that.
one moment where JDM had one vintage JDM moment
Well,
in
he had a
the
little
fight.
clinch and he did a little combo.
Yeah, and at that point, I was like, "Oh, okay, okay,
And
okay."
that was it.
And then it was over. It was over.
Was literally the only thing he did the entire fight.
But like, let me ask you this question. Do you feel like, and I'm not to take any credit away from Islam, but do you feel like JDM might have been coming into the fight with an injury or something? Because it was just, I don't know, man. Something seemed off. Like, to not be able to let your game off at all. Like, I understand how good Islam is, and you've never fought anybody like Islam, but he literally had nothing to offer. No moments.
Yeah.
The best thing that he had to offer was his, his defensive game off his back. He was able to
Stop take.
defend every submission. He was able to nullify the ground and pound, so he didn't accumulate really any damage. But, like, do you feel like something might have been wrong with him? Because that
I
was
mean, the
unexpected.
wincing, he was wincing, but I don't know. He kind of walked into the fight that way with like this like mean face, and I don't know if he always
He
does that.
always had, yes, he always got a mean
Does that?
face.
Okay,
Always.
okay. It didn't look like it, man. He looked like, I mean, him and Leon Edwards look similar. Like they both were able to move around. Like Leon didn't look injured. He got knocked
Yeah,
out. He didn't look injured. He was moving around both stances. That leg got chopped up pretty good early in the fight. The calf started getting chopped up, and then he had to start
yeah,
resorting to going to orthodox for the most part. It just looked like Islam is on a different type of regimen. Like those Dagestanis are grappling hard,
yeah,
hard. And the thing about it is this: I learned after my first loss to a wrestler that you can turn your back to a wrestler. When wrestlers get your back, they just usually want to mat return you and look to try to hold you down, but you can turn your back and go, peel the wrists. You can start scrambling and Granbying out of things and, making it interesting. You can get back, you can get away. You're not supposed to do that with jiu-jitsu fighters. Jiu-jitsu fighters, you don't want to turn your back, but you can get up the normal way. You can use underhook get-ups, cross grip get-ups, different types of sweeps and push-aways that you can do, like butterfly escapes and stuff like that. And you can get up. So with a jiu-jitsu dude, you get up with your back to the ground, because they will take your back if you expose it. And with the
yeah,
wrestler, you can't get up with your back to the ground because they have too much pressure. You have to turn around and expose your back and get up that way.
yeah,
With these dudes, you can't do either. You can't get up from your back and you can't turn around. If you turn around, to take your back.
yeah, exactly.
So that right there is just a conundrum. Like you can't get up either way. And then on top of that, to make it worse, usually people have either a lot of cardio or a lot of strength. They don't have both. These dudes got both. Like, yo, Islam was literally not running out of gas. He was strong as hell.
Which is crazy because at 55, we've seen Islam get tired. We've seen him get tired. Maybe not tired to the point where he's not able to do anything, but
He be tired. He be getting
we've
tired.
seen him
Yeah.
slow down. We've seen him
Yeah.
slow down at 55, right? But at 70, this might be the division that he should have been all along, because the cardio was even better than it was at 55. The strength was next level, and he didn't look like the smaller guy.
He was
Considering
bigger.
JDM, exactly, considering JDM is the natural 70-pounder, Islam made him look like a 55 in there.
Oh my.
You
And then
feel
so
me?
it
So
makes you
like,
wonder,
huh?
it makes you wonder, is it the fact that he's not cutting weight? Is that why he's not getting tired? Or is it that he was dominating so much that, like, have you ever, when you spar somebody who's really good, it makes you way more tired. And then
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're sparring somebody that's easy,
yeah,
like you go hella rounds because you're not even really breaking a
exactly.
sweat. You know what I'm saying? They're not pushing you. Whereas like a Dustin Poirier was actually able to push him, which is wild to me because Jack has better boxing than Dustin Poirier. Jack has better scrambling than Dustin Poirier. Yet Dustin did way better than Jack.
I think it's the division. I think the division makes all the difference. Dustin was able to do that because they were at 55, right? If this was at 70, I think it would be a similar situation as it was with JDM. I think Islam just happens to be different at 170, right? And I mean, to be able to
You
do
think
what he did to
weight cut is making
JDM,
a difference?
huh?
You think it's the weight cut?
I think it's the weight cut because otherwise, why was Dustin able to do what he did to Islam at 55 and JDM couldn't do anything at 70, right?
Could it just be the
And
skill set, the
the
style?
skills, I mean, that could play a factor, but I think the biggest difference is the division, right? Is the fact that he was able to just be himself, right? He didn't have to cut any weight. And as with the weight cut also diminishes conditioning, it diminishes strength. He didn't have any of that, right? He was able to truly be himself. He was able to compete the way he does in the gym on fight night because he's just his natural weight. And I think that obviously makes all the difference. So I honestly think, man, there's some tough matchups for him at 170, but he's a nightmare, man. Even more so.
That's annoying, man. Because I'm not a fan of these dudes, and it's just like it's not looking good for most people. It's
Yeah,
not looking good. Like like we talked about before. I wanted my man Ilya to go up there and shut him down,
it's not
but
happening
right
at
now
170. At 170,
that
that ain't
weight,
happening.
that weight,
But what's crazy is that Ilya is still talking about going to 70, like,
I don't think he's playing
adamant.
around. He wants to
He's
go.
he's adamant at it. Like he's adamant at going at 170, and I think honestly that's a bad idea, man.
It is a
I
bad
mean, I
idea, but he literally has nothing to lose.
He has nothing to lose. That's a fact. But still, man, just the visual, like the visual of what it could be, them two fighting at 170, that's a
That's
bad
crazy.
look, man. That's
Because
a
Ilya,
bad look.
I heard somebody say this. He said, it said Ilya's still a 45er. He acts like he can't cut the weight. He's a 45er. He is not a
Yes.
45er. When you saw him in that ring against Oliveira, he was way smaller. He's not as big as Patty. He's not as big as Chandler. He's not as big as Armin Sarukian. He's not as big as and Dustin Port. None of these guys. He's smaller
Yeah.
than these guys. So for him to go to 55, it's already going to be difficult, but he's going to get by because of his skill set. But
Yeah,
for him to
exactly.
go to 70, okay, like that's like he
That's too
doesn't even walk
much.
around at that weight.
Exactly.
Like,
That's too much. Because you think
but
about it.
go ahead.
Because you think about it, he's going to be fighting guys much bigger than the guys he's already going to be fighting. And they're also very well-rounded. Like the top guys at 70 are very
But I
well-rounded.
don't think he's gonna stay there. I think he would just go for that one fight and go back to 55. I think he just wants Islam. That's it.
If you want to take a L real quick and go ahead and do that, but he's not going to beat him at 70.
Hey,
At
yo,
55, there's a possibility.
what happens if Ilya beats Islam at 170? We're talking the best to ever do it ever. Better
The
than
best
John
to ever
Jones.
do it.
better than
Yes.
Anderson. We're talking. He just needs to retire and you just go down as the GOAT. You are the GOAT of MMA.
I agree that he will be the best ever if he can accomplish that. But
Three divisions.
let's step back into reality. That's not happening at 170.
Does he at least give Islam a better fight than JDM? At least.
I mean, it's all up from there. I mean, that was pretty bad. So I mean,
He said anybody can do. All you gotta do is survive. You do better.
if you land a flush hook, a flush cross, if you land a flush body kick, you did better than JDM, right? Because he didn't do anything. If you stuff a takedown, you did better than JDM.
So there you go. You gotta lose.
But he
I mean,
gonna
if
lose though.
JDM didn't have nothing to lose, he definitely doesn't have anything to lose.
Yeah, but if we want to see, if we're gonna watch them fight, I want them to fight where it makes sense, right? We know Islam can make 55. He just did it not that long ago. So if he says otherwise, he's lying, right? We know he can. So if that fight's gonna happen, I want it to happen where it should happen, and that's at 55, right? And I think there's a world where you can entice Islam to go to 55, at least for that one fight, and then come back,
Wow.
right? Because I mean, Dana already kind of said it. Dana, after the fight, after Islam took the belt from JDM, they were asking, the media was asking Dana White about potential opponents for Islam, and he mentioned Ilya. He said there's Morales out there, there's Shafkat out there, there's Usman out there, there's Ilya out there. And then during Islam's conference after the fight, he said the same thing. There's Ilya out there, right? So the fact that the boss and Islam himself both recognize that Ilya is still a possibility, that tells me even more so with Dana. That tells me that Dana will be open to him going back down to 55 while keeping his 170 pound belt. So I think that fight can still happen at 55.
But then can you go take the belt from him, or would it just be?
No, I don't think so, because Dana said, he was like, is Ilya still a possibility? And we know for a fact, because we've seen this in the past, Dana's not really a fan of you winning your title and then immediately going up a division. So I don't see him letting Ilya immediately go to 170 when he just won the 55. But I do see him letting Islam go back down to 55 because he was already there, right? So it's not really a new territory, right? So I think there's a world where he can go back down there for that fight, and I think that's how it should happen. I don't want to see it at 170 because it's not going to be compelling. We know what's going to happen. It's pretty certain that, or at least it's pretty safe to say that Ilya is going to lose at 70. He's too small. It's not happening. Like, Ilya going to Islam going to ragdoll him, bro. It's not a good look.
I don't know about all that, but he'll win. But let's not get carried away.
At 70, I mean, I'm with you, bro. But at the same time, man, I can't be delusional. Islam is different at 70, man.
The thing is that, yeah, I mean, they're smart. That camp is smart, man. The way that they broke down that fight to a T with JDM, like when he goes southpaw, calf kick him. Let's take away that calf. And when he goes orthodox, we're going to throw head kicks and go for takedowns.
Yeah.
Like, they broke him down to a science. And then when
But
he went
that
down to the ground,
it
huh?
was horrible, man. But that's another thing I want to talk about real quick, the calf kicks, right? Or just the leg kicks in general, right? And I think we talked about this before, but it's irritates me every time I watch a MMA fight, a UFC fight, and they're just not checking kicks or moving their foot out of the way. They're just, you guys learn this. You guys practice this. You guys train this. And they don't start checking or moving their leg out the way until it's too late. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like so many fights could be like so many fighters could have avoided defeat had they just addressed the kicks, right? Because we've seen guys that are much better than their opponent and they lose because the leg is already compromised by round 2, round 3, round 4, depending if it's a 3-rounder or a 5-rounder, right? These guys need to start addressing these kicks, man, before it's too late. Because
I think the
imagine if JDM, I'm not saying he would have won, but imagine if JDM addressed those kicks. It could have made a difference, right? It's just, I just don't understand it, man.
think the problem is that in MMA, boxing is basically the dominant striking style at this point. Safe to say, right? Like, there's some Muay Thai fighters, there's some kickboxers, but for the most part, everyone is a boxer with a few kicks in their bag,
Yeah.
right? You look at Sean O'Malley, you look at Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, Ilya Taporia. Most of these guys, you look at most of these guys, they're all just boxers with a few kicks in their game. Well, when you're a boxer, a lot of times you're just not in a stance where you're ready to defend a leg kick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys get their legs chewed up because they're in that kind of like JDM has this boxer-esque stance where his leg is just not really in a position to even move out the way. You know what I'm saying?
But
Or
here's a
like
solution. Here's a solution, I think, is okay. So, like, especially in the JDM Islam fight, there was a lot of moments where, there was a distance between them, right? And then, and even not just this fight in general, where you'll see a guy, he'll throw like filler shots. And the jab ain't touching, but he's just throwing it out just to give a
like a
look,
probe.
right? Exactly, a probe, just to give a look, right? In those moments, your opponent can still kick your leg, right? So in those moments where you're kind of filling each other out and you're probing, a lot of times those are the moments where the leg gets chopped, right? So why not in those situations switch your stance or periodically switch your stance so it becomes less predictable? Stay in a southpaw, probe, move to orthodox, probe, constantly switch back. And when you're ready to engage, especially if you're not a switch stance fighter, right? If you're predominantly a southpaw or an orthodox, you can still switch if your intent in that moment is to stay on the outside and throw probe shots. But when you're ready to engage, then you go into your natural stance or your dominant stance, and then you let off your shot. And then when you step off, periodically switch stances, right? I
That way
think
you
that's
kind of
a
hide.
good, exactly, that's a good solution because, again, most of the time, and it happened with JDM, JDM was getting his leg chopped when he wasn't engaging, when he was on the outside in a filling out moment, right? Then he would get chopped. He would get chopped. He would get chopped. And then when he finally wanted to engage, he didn't have the stability to do so,
Which is crazy because he's the striker and Islam
Exactly.
outstruck.
So I think that's a solution. Periodically switch stance when you're not in an engaging situation. I
He
mean,
was switching stances, but out of pain, I'm trying to escape the damage that's
when
being
it was
done to me.
already too late. Had he
No
been
game
doing
planning.
that, exactly. But had he been doing that already going into the fight, it could have made a difference. I'm not
It
saying he
sucked
would
though
have
because it
won.
seems like all their game planning went into survival. And that's what happens when a lot of times when you game plan against wrestlers, your game planning is not to how do I go in there and beat this dude? It's how do I go in there and survive? His game planning was let me use the squid, the octopus, and try to get out the side control. How do I stop the arm, the head and arm? How do I stop the
Yeah,
darts? Like that was right because he did a good job at that. He just
he
stopped all the
did.
time.
Yeah.
But Islam's game plan was chop those legs, and then when he switches, dude,
Yeah.
like he had a plan. You see what I'm saying? Like his plan was to win, whereas JDM's plan was to not lose.
And going into a fight with that, you're already going to lose. Going into a fight with that mindset, you're already going in, even if it's not consciously, you're going in there to lose because you
Sad.
can't win the fight if you don't have a offensive game plan incorporated into your defensive game plan. You're gonna lose. You can't win a fight from just defending. Right? I'm saying, like,
How you gonna win? I'm gonna stop the Durst. How you gonna win? I'm gonna stop the head and arm. Like what?
Just doesn't make any sense, man. That was a horrible game plan.
Whereas you look at like Morales when he fought against Sean Brady, he said, "I'm gonna stand like this, and then I'm gonna let these things fly," and
Exactly.
that's what he did.
Right?
He's letting his
Exactly.
hands fly. So now we got this weekend. Let's talk about before we talk about who we want to see at Islam fight next. Let's touch on the fact that this weekend we have Bilal Muhammad fighting against Ian Gary because that fight has to happen, along with Shavkat fighting potentially maybe Kamaru Usman or someone to see who's going to be fighting Islam next. If it's not going to be Ilya, that is. So this weekend we got Ian Gary versus Bilal Muhammad. Who do you have winning that fight?
I got Ian Gary. I just think Ian Gary, he's a part of the future of this division, right? He's the next generation of this division. A young, well-rounded guy. Bilal, he's a good fighter, but uh, I just don't think I just don't think he'll be able to deal with what Ian Gary has. I mean, Ian Gary can get boring and just be a grappler. He can win that route because we've seen it against,
Yeah.
against exactly. But he can also be a guy who fights on the outside and uses his distance, uses his range. So he kind of has different ways to win the fight. He can be excited, he can be boring, he's okay with that. And as we know, guys who are willing to have a boring victory, those are the guys that kind of set themselves apart, right? Because they're okay with just securing the win. And Ian has that ability to be exciting or just secure a win because he's so well
Yeah.
rounded.
And he has great conditioning. So whatever he wants
Exactly.
to do, he can just do it all night long. His
Exactly.
cardio is amazing. I kind of see Ian winning. I see Ian winning as well. I think first of all, Bilal's probably gonna go out there and try to prove a point like always, because for whatever reason he thinks he's Canelo. Madness. I think if he wants any chance of winning this fight, he needs to feint, jab, cross, and shoot immediately. Put Ian Gary against the cage. Try to work your best to get him to the ground. Because Ian Gary, when he is flat on his back, he will stay on the ground. He will just wrap up a guard and just kind of hold you.
Yeah.
So Bilal has to go immediately to the ground. Do not try to box. Ian Gary's way too long and his range is way too good. That's, something that I specialize in footwork and range. And I know range when I see it. Ian
Yeah.
Gary's range is serious. He knows how to keep his distance. He knows how to circle off the cage, and he has good cardio. He can do it all night. If he tries to box with Ian, it's not going to be good. He's going to chop his legs. He's going to throw these little snappy kicks, and he's going to jab, cross, jab, cross. Not going to be crazy. He's not going to be exciting. He's not going to knock Bilal out or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Bilal has a good, but it'll be boring. It's not going to be
Yeah.
super fun. So Bilal has better be training his wrestling and his takedowns. That's his only chance.
Yeah. Now I
What do you think
agree.
of that?
I think because he's always trying to prove a point, I think he will go out there and predominantly grapple because I mean, look at his last fight. He took a lot of flack from that, as he should, right? Because in what world do you think you Canelo, bro? Like, you feel me? So it's like, but I think he's gonna actually try to prove a point and secure a win, right? And he should, because if you have any intent of getting back to that title, it starts Saturday. If you take another L, you can kind of,
No, yeah, you
especially at
can't.
his age, you can kind of kiss that
Yeah.
up, kiss that goodbye. So I do see him actually going grappling heavy, wrestling heavy in this fight. But Ian Gary's movement, his ability to circle out, could be good kryptonite for Bilal. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think if
So
Bilal does focus heavily on his wrestling, he has a chance, or you feel like it's still not going to work regardless?
I mean, he obviously has a chance if he predominantly goes in there with with a wrestling approach. Like he obviously, I mean, that's his best chance. If he goes out there and tries to think he Canelo, again, he's gonna. I can see him getting finished, right? Because TKO, not a knockout. So wrestling would be his best approach of winning. Will it secure him a victory? I'm not so sure about that because again, Gary's, distance management, his ability to fight on the outside, his movement is really good. I think he still loses,
You think
but
it makes it at least? Or do you think it makes it like
I
60-40?
say 60-40, 40 on Bilal's part, because I still think he's gonna lose no matter what. But he gives himself the best chance of securing a win if he does what he normally does, which is grapple.
If he tries to box, what's his chances? Like 10%? Or
10, 15%. I'm saying because I think
you're
if he
not
go-
winning.
if he if he goes out there with a striking mindset, a striking approach, he's not.
Canelo mindset.
He's most definitely not winning. Right? It's not happening, and not against Ian Gary, man.
Damn. So now, if Ian wins that fight, Ian's right. That's it. Title shot. Like, I mean,
If he wins, he gets a title
he
shot.
deserves.
I think it's justified for him to get a title shot next. I don't think Morales should get a title shot next. I mean, he's got some good wins, but I still think he needs at least one more signature win. And Prantes, he needs at least 2 signature wins. So yeah, it's going to be Gary, because if it's not Shavkat, it's Gary. It's between those two that gets the title shot.
Can't be Shavkat. Shavkat won't make it. He's not gonna make it to the fight. So,
but I'm saying he always does. He just had to pull out of this last one. I mean, but I'm
dude,
saying
like that fight 15 months. Like,
but Islam doesn't really fight either. So like it can line up perfectly for Shavkat. But I'm just saying that it's between the two. Say it again.
Does Shavkat have to fight between now and the White House card?
It depends, right? It depends, because if Gary loses Saturday, then I think it's between Morales and Shavkat, right? But I don't think he has to, because if Islam is talking about fighting at the White House, right? If he's saying that's his next fight and he doesn't fight Ilya, then I can see a world where he does fight Shavkat, because it would just line up perfectly, because neither of the guys are active. I would say Shavkat is more active than Islam in general, but I think that if Islam is deciding to fight at the White House, I don't think Shavkat has to fight in between that. Like, he could just go and fight at the White House.
You think he fight like in February? Because the White House like in July, isn't it?
That's in July, yeah. But again, that's up to Shavkat. If Shavkat doesn't want to sit on the shelf for any longer, then it would be his decision, right? To get a fight in there in between. But if he's okay with just waiting for a title shot for July next year, then I don't see why they wouldn't let him do that, right? Because he was initially the number 1 contender before JDM got it, right? And he's undefeated.
So then if Ian does win this weekend, then who gets it, Ian or Shavkat?
Again, it just depends on the timeline, right? That's what's going to be the deciding factor. Because if Islam decides to fight, in the beginning of 2026, then I can see Gary getting in there, right? Unless they do some like,
I don't think Islam's fighting again until July. He's not fighting again.
So then if it's July, if Gary wins this Saturday and they decide to go with Shavkat or Usman, because I can see a scenario where Usman gets it just because of his name, even though he don't deserve it. But based on his name, I can see them giving him the title shot, right? So if Ian doesn't get the title shot, after securing a win Saturday, I think he can fight Morales and make that a number 1 contendership.
That's a good fight.
I think that's the way you go. Yeah, I think that's the only way to go. If he's not getting the title shot next, you put him in Morales, and if Morales gets past Ian, then there's no debate. He is the number 1 contender for that title shot after.
Yeah, I don't see him getting
the next one.
I don't see him being Ian really, but Ian will definitely fight like a little girl, though. He will run his ass off in that fight. He is not gonna exchange.
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, because if I've learned anything recently, anytime we definitively pick somebody, they be losing. We definitively.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I got Ian winning, but
no, that's what I'm saying. So I can't pick. I don't know if I could definitively say Ian is gonna win, because anytime we are so set on one person, you be losing. DDP, JDM, anybody with a catchy initial, they be losing, right?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You so set on Islam being Ilya, and I'm trying to tell you, Ilya
but I think this is. I think
one of them.
Listen, I think that's a fight where it don't even matter. At 70, Islam is winning. But as far as Morales and Gary, I'm not so sure that Gary wins that fight. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I'm not so sure that he wins that fight. Morales is different, and we don't even know what's his ceiling, right? We don't even know, because every time he fights, he shows us something different, right? When he fought Gilbert Burns, we saw something different than when he fought Neil Magny. And then when he fought Brady, we saw something different than when we saw against, obviously, Burns. Neil Magny? That was before he outclassed him, bro. He just manhandled him and finished him. I think he TKO'd him. He got his back, flattened him out, and just start punching on him. So like
Serious, son.
he's always showing another level to himself every fight, right? And to do that to Brady, nobody has, even Bilal didn't do that to Brady. You feel me? So like I can't say definitively that Gary beats him. I can't say that, man.
Yeah, he's a bad boy, man. All right, what about Usman now? So do you feel like Usman has a good chance of getting past Shavkat and then fighting Islam and potentially winning against Islam? Do you think he gets past Shavkat? Because that's like the matchup that we've been hearing anyways.
Yeah, that's a tough.
That's a tough fight for him, right?
I think anybody who fights Shavkat is a tough fight. Like Shavkat, he's been on the shelf because of an injury, so he's not being spoke about as enough recently. But Shavkat is different. I mean, anybody who fights Shavkat is in for a tough night. I think that's safe to
Do you
say.
think he has the best chance of beating Islam?
I think him and Morales and Gary, those are the three guys. Ian Gary, Michael Morales, and Shavkat are the three guys who have the best chance right now of giving Islam a run for his money. Those are the three guys. Because, I mean, Ian Gary showed us how good he is in that loss against Shavkat, right? So we know how good
I
he
mean, he
is.
took
We know
Shavkat's back. Shavkat is not a different type of grappler because Ian Gary ain't taking no Islam's back.
he's
Never.
not a different kind of, but also there's a caveat to that fight. Shavkat was injured in that fight. He came into the fight with an injury, so we have to make note of that, right?
Probably gonna do the same way if he has against it. He's gonna go into that injured too.
No, but he really was injured because right after the fight he got surgery, and now that's why he on the shelf right now, right? He got so. And if we talk about other fighters that go into a fight that lose because of an injury, or not even lose if they win and have a tough outing because of an injury, we have to kind of give Shavkat that same grace, right? So,
So you think
but
that if he fought Ian Gary healed, if he was nothing wrong with him, you think he would have dominated Ian Gary?
I don't know. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that I think Shavkat would have never been in certain situations that he was in because
Okay, so it could be like
because
okay.
because that's the only safe thing to say because every other time Shavkat went in there, we've never seen him in those type of situations. So like it's safe to say that if he wasn't injured, it would be the same. It would be the same case. Right? Again, I'm not saying he would have finished Ian because Ian is just that good. I just don't think his back would have been taken. I don't think he would have been in these compromising positions. But I think anybody who fights Shavkat is in for a tough night. So do I think Usman can beat him? I don't know. I don't know because
Not prime Usman anymore, is it?
exactly. Usman is he's older. He's pushing close to 40. You know, he's in his late 30s. He's like 38 or something like that. His knees is I mean, it was pretty evident. Like we always know he had bad knees, but it was really evident when he fought Buckley. Like his knees just didn't really look that good against Buckley. His striking didn't look as good against Buckley as it did in previous fights. He didn't look like he was willing to engage on the feet against Buckley like he did in previous fights. Anytime he got touched with something good, he smiled and he went for the takedown, went for the grappling. He's not the same fighter. And why should he be? He's almost 40, right? So I don't know, man. I think Shavkat gets him out of there too. Maybe not finished, but I think Shavkat beats him. I
He's
think
gonna beat him.
Islam, I think
If he fights Islam, he's gonna go in there on defense mode. He's not going in there to beat Islam. He's going in there to survive.
exactly.
Islam just has that aura. No, Islam has an aura about him right now.
Yeah.
I don't think Usman is in that part of his life anymore to really have that grit. You know what I'm saying? Like he'll go in there and basically just try to stuff takedowns and he'll get beat up on the feet. Is basically what's gonna happen. He's gonna get outboxed.
I think if Buckley had better takedown defense, I think Buckley could have beaten Usman. Because when they were on the feet, Buckley had the advantage. Especially in that 5th round, Buckley had the advantage on the feet. So if he was able to stuff takedowns, Usman would be on a 4-fight losing streak instead of a 3.
Yeah, I mean, but he got that win. He's able to snap it, unlike Edwards. I mean, Edwards on 3 right now. But now, if Islam fights, I think the only people that can really offer him a fight are the people that do have a chip on their shoulder. Somebody like a Morales who's gonna go in there and fight. He's not going in there to lay down. Somebody like a Shavkat. Obviously, he's not going in there to lay down.
Yeah.
He's a winner. Somebody like Ian Gary, he's going in there to win. But Prates, man, that's not happening. Prates
doesn't
has
have
nothing to offer him.
He has his grappling is not really good. He doesn't really have takedown.
Honestly, early.
He don't got takedown defense like we saw Ian Gary take him down pretty easily. And if Ian Gary can take you down easily, Islam's wrestling is notches above. So he's gonna ragdoll Prates. Prates is dangerous on the feet. He has knockout power, but
And he beats everyone. Everyone when he turns up, he wins. You know. Now, what about Hamzat dropping down to 170? You think that ever happens or not? That's never happening.
It's never happening. It's never happening. I think he's just in a comfortable place right now. He's at 185. Why would he go down? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, he was depleting himself going down to 70. But
I think he just make it one time.
But let's say hypothetically, if he did, now that's a fight right there. Because I don't see Islam. Islam is not doing Hamzat like that. Nah. Hamzat is different.
Hamzat is different. That's what I'm like.
And Hamzat could put you out. Hamzat could put your lights out too. So yeah. If that was the case,
he dropped down.
Hamzat, I got Hamzat winning. Because Hamzat is significantly bigger than Islam. There's no amount of work Islam can do in the gym with his nutritionist that can get him to look bigger than Hamzat. Hamzat is just a bigger, taller guy. And Hamzat is relentless. Right? I see Hamzat beating him by decision. I don't know if he finishes him, but I see Hamzat beating him by decision. If there's anybody that can get...
The only thing is that... What did you say?
I said, if there's anybody that can get Islam tired at 70, it will be Hamzat because he has a heavy grappling approach. His grappling is unlike anything Islam has ever seen, right? Because he's fighting one of his own. He's not from Dagestan, but he a Chechen from Russia, right? He's fighting a guy with next level grappling. And he's never fought.
But the thing is that
like
Hamzat, if he had to drop down there, he'd be cutting a lot of weight.
Yes.
A lot of weight. And so he would be the one kind of gassing himself by getting down there, you know?
But as we know about Hamzat, if there's anybody that can get you out, maybe he could finish him, who knows? But if there's anybody that can go out there and shine against Islam, it's Hamzat. Hamzat is he's different, man. Because yes, he gets tired, but we've only ever seen him get drastically tired once at 70 against Burns. And that's because he was going in there ultra aggressive and not even intelligently going for takedowns. But any other time he fought at 170, calculated, not sloppy, and just was ragdolling his opponents and got them out of there and just showed that there was levels. So I think
at 85.
Huh?
He gassed with Usman at 85.
Yeah, but again, that was a short notice fight. That was, remember, his initial opponent was a striker. His initial opponent was a completely different style of fight, right? So for you to have to essentially switch your opponent who has a completely different style essentially overnight, not overnight, but to make all the strides that you need in your camp, it's just not possible in short notice. Like, you're preparing for a striker, and then all of a sudden now you're preparing for a heavy grappler who's a big guy too. So, like, I think most people in those situations are going to struggle, you know? But if they were to, but then you look at what he did to DDP. Oh, he was preparing for DDP. He came in specifically with a game plan for DDP, and he just didn't filter. So,
but the thing is that he is not compared to Islam as far as the grappling and wrestling. I mean, they're not even in the same stratosphere.
Yeah, but also nobody Islam has fought is not in the stratosphere of Hamzat.
The closest person would have been Arman. We saw what Hamzat did to Arman when they grappled.
But you think about it, that was, people forget that was Arman's debut. That was his UFC debut, and it was a short notice fight. Islam was supposed to fight somebody else.
And it was very competitive. It was going at it.
Exactly. But Islam was supposed to fight somebody else. That person dropped out. Arman made his debut short notice against Islam. And he was a kid at that point. He was like in his early 20s. So that what Arman is now is entirely different from that guy that he was then.
Hamzat still dominated Arman
in grappling. Just
recently,
yes.
Like in the
made him look like a child. You know what I'm saying? Hamzat is different, man. He's never gonna go back down. But if that fight were to happen, Hamzat will prepare accordingly, and I think he gets the job done.
Yeah, I just think with that weight cut, it'll ruin his camp. He won't be able to focus on actually training. I think the cut would just be bad. I don't think it'd be good for him. They would have to do some kind of if they could do some kind of a catch weight, but Dana White doesn't even believe in that. I don't know why. I think it only makes sense because you want to see the Ilya versus Islam, but you don't want to see it at 170. Make it at 162.
I don't think it's gonna.
Like you want to see.
I don't think it's gonna be at 170 unless Ilya decides to try to make a statement and go up to 170 because he wants to be a 3-division champ. Otherwise, I think it could happen at 55.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, if it can happen at 162, that would make it more easy for Islam.
That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen, though. That's not gonna happen.
It would never happen. I know. It's just silly. Why not? If Islam wants to fight against Hamza, make the fight at 177 pounds, something like that.
Yeah, no, I think there's scenarios where a catch weight would make sense, and because I feel like there's a lot of big fights between champions of opposing divisions that won't happen because one guy doesn't want to cut so much to go down, and the other guy doesn't want to have to come up and be at a weight disadvantage. So I think there's a lot of scenarios where a catch weight makes sense. So that way you can give the fans a lot of these fights that we want to see, but we ultimately won't see because of the reasoning that I gave and that you gave.
Exactly.